My name is David Kempster. I'm the Future Offer Manager at Drayton, and a Future Offer Manager is really a product manager who's very focused on future technologies and future products and the product roadmap. So very, very focused on where our product range is going in the future. But for the last 15 years, I have been managing the TRV range at Drayton, which is why Claire asked me to give you a half-hour training session on the TRV range. You may have seen me before talking about TRV4s, and I think even on this Facebook group we did a session on TRV4s and the secrets of the TRV4. Here I'm going to talk about the whole range of Drayton TRVs, not just the TRV4 range. So I'll be starting with our entry level RT212, explaining all the features about that and including why it's new, what we've done to change it recently. Then moving up to the mid-range RT414 and explaining what the differences are and why you might choose to upgrade to the 414. And then finally we'll be getting on to the TRV4s and explaining what the upgrade path is to there and how you explain it. As well as that, we'll be talking through some of the accessories like lock shields and a little bit about the tools. I won't be demonstrating the balancing key, but I'll be talking about it, what you can do with it. And I also want to talk about 𝘁𝗿𝗱𝗲, the 𝘁𝗍𝗍 radiator valve. I know you've had lots of stuff on 𝘁𝗍𝗍 already, so this is really just about how 𝘁𝗍𝗍 relates to TRVs and what more you can do with 𝘁𝗍𝗍 intelligent TRV over a traditional mechanical control. So that's what we want to cover tonight. About half an hour, if that's okay. Hope you're sitting comfortably at home with a tea or a coffee or a beer, or maybe it's gin and tonic time by now for some of you, and hope you've had a good day at work. So let's get going. So TRVs, I don't need to explain to you what they're for and why you need them. You all know that they could control heat output from a radiator to maintain comfort levels in all your rooms, every single room, by sensing room temperature and closing the valve when the room gets up to temperature. Nice and simple. It's a fix and forget product because it's mechanical, no batteries, no electrics, a nice easy product to put in. Interestingly though, not mandated in Boiler Plus, which we were quite surprised about at the time because the government did talk about mandating TRVs, but they said that they felt that TRVs are already very well used, so they didn't need to mandate. But I don't really agree with that. There are lots and lots of manual valves out there where radiators are overheating unnecessarily and wasting energy. So it surprised me that they didn't put it into Boiler Plus. But there's talk of and the next version of Boiler Plus coming out maybe later this year or early next year. Maybe they'll put something in on TRVs. Let's hope so, because after all, TRVs, as you probably know, are the most cost-effective energy saving measure you can put in. The Energy House at Salford University tested the use of TRVs on a Victorian end terrace house in their climate chamber, and the savings from adding TRVs were significant, in the range of £300 or more per year off your gas bill, something like 30% saving on your gas bill just by upgrading and adding TRVs to all the rooms, and for the cost of fairly simple low-cost products. So the return on a TRV is better than any other control you can put in. So that's why TRVs are used, but a lot of that I think you'll probably know already. So I want to start today by talking about the RT414. Did I say 414? I meant the 212. Let me start again. This is the RT212. It's our entry level offering. We do most of our training, we focus on the TRV4, but I think it's good to talk about the entry level product. This is our fighting TRV when really only price matters, and I'm sure you've got a lot of cases where you might have customers who all their focus is focused on a price. So why not offer them the RT212? it's our entry-level model, but that doesn't mean to say it's a cheap TRV. It's not. It's a very well specified TRV. It's got a like all TRVs, it's got a full range up to maximum. It takes you up to something like 29 degrees, and down on one, it's, if I turn it down there, it's temperature range of 12, so 12 to 29 degrees range. Plus, it's got an it's got a frost position at 8 degrees, and it's also got a positive off position holding that valve closed. And whilst that is a positive off position, best practice if you're removing a radiator is nevertheless to remove the head and place a decorator cap to close down the valve, always best practice. We talked about range limiting pins on the TRV4, but our RT212 also has range limiting pins. So you can see, if I may be able to see here, this pin here is the removable pin here. It's in 29 at the moment, doing nothing really at that point, allowing you full temperature adjustment. But if you take it out of there and move it to one of these other holes, and they're all marked with the temperature, you can limit the temperature with that pin to say 21 degrees or 24 degrees, whatever you think, much more reasonable temperature to limit it to than 29, which is no real sense in setting this at 29 degrees. And a lot of people do just turn it up to maximum and overheat their rooms. So once it's mounted on the valve, you can't get to these pins. You can only remove that pin once you take the head off. You turn the head to frost, place the pin in a slot, and then it's limited to that position. Then you put the head back on the valve, and you've limited the range. So one of the few entry-level products that offer range limiting pins. An important point, again, it might be an entry-level product, but we still have key mark approval. The little letter, it looks like a letter E with a blob on the top. That's actually the key mark symbol. And you see that symbol on a lot of European products, but in the case of TRVs, it means that we're approved to the European norm EN215. And it's an important standard because it's a sign of quality and performance, but also safety. Because one of the important aspect of a TRV is that it's sitting maybe on your lounge floor, and your children could be sitting next to it. You don't want anything to happen to it, because if it was to fail catastrophically, you could get hot water at high pressure being sprayed out around the room, and you could cause injuries. And small children, for example, love to stand on TRVs to look out of a window, so it's got to be strong enough to survive that sort of abuse. And within EN215, one of the tests, in fact, is to try and break the head off by adding a big weight to it. So it's got to be a strong TRV to pass, to take that sort of abuse. You definitely want to look for, even on an entry-level TRV, you want to look for the key mark symbol. And it's also a mark of reliability as well, and quality, because we have to get this certification, we have to submit our samples to a third-party test house. Costs us quite a lot of money, but we think it's worthwhile. And we obviously submit samples to get the approval. But then every year, someone from the test house comes to the factory in Plymouth, takes random products off the production line, and tests them to ensure that even what we're making today, when it was certified 4 years ago or more, what we're producing today, still conforms to the standard. And in between that yearly visit, our engineers have to take monthly tests on the line and test products monthly, and confirm to the test house that what we're producing still conforms to this standard. So putting that all together, it's a pretty good TRV, to have as an entry-level product. But and even though it is our fighting range, we still felt last year we wanted to make some improvements to it. And I mentioned earlier that you can see on the box we say new. This is the new RT212. So what have we done to it? We upgraded the sensor inside the head from a wax capsule to a liquid capsule. And we did that because liquid sensors, liquid capsules are better performing than wax in the sense that they react more quickly to temperature changes, and they control with lower hysteresis. So your temperature in your room doesn't go up and down, it controls it much nearer the set temperature you gave it. So, and previously we had wax capsules only on the RT212 because it was our entry-level model, but we felt we wanted to improve even there. So we now have liquid sensors across our whole range of TRVs, that we don't use wax sensors at all. As well as being slower to react than liquid sensors, wax sensors also have a tendency to stiffen up after a number of years. So you could find that the wax sensor TRV you put in a few years ago is actually very slow to react and might not be even moving much at all. So liquid carries on, doesn't stiffen up at all. So if it works from day one, it'll work forever. There was one compromise we had to make in keeping to the cost point with those improvements, and that was the valve. So we've upgraded, as you can see, to a chrome valve. You may know that previously we had satin nickel valves on the RT212 and the RT414, but we've now changed to chrome across the whole range. We think that chrome looks much better, and it has a much better perception than satin nickel, so it's across the whole range. But this valve is a fixed flow rate valve. Unlike the variable flow rate valves or adjustable flow rate valves I'm about to talk about on the 414 and the TRV4. If you've seen my training on the TRV4 and how I use the balancing key to set a flow rate, can't do that on this one. You have to it's just got the flow rate that it's set. If you want to set your own flow rate, then you need to upgrade to one of the other products. So it's a basic valve for this purpose, and also it's got the top fitting is just a hex, and the head locates into the hex. So you've got a choice of 6 positions to put the head. Might not always line up, and I think this one is slightly out, but you can't straighten it because it's due to the position of the hex and the insert. If that's important to you, and it would be to me, I'd upgrade to RT414 or to the TRV4. But nevertheless, you know, it works. It's a good solid product for the entry level. But the next one in the range, the mid range, is the RT414. So I've got one here. So you can see immediately it's a step up in terms of aesthetics. It's a nicer looking TRV with a nicer head design. It's easier to get your fingers around, so it's easier to turn. I think that's another positive. And now on the RT414, again, it's the chrome valve, but we're now using the valve with the adjustable flow rate. So if I take the head off, you can see the typical insert that I've demonstrated many times using the balancing key, and I think you've probably all got balancing keys by now as you're members of this group. This valve has a number of important advantages for the end user. One is obviously balancing. You can set a flow rate and balance your radiators much more accurately than you can using a lock shield, and it's locked in place like we've discussed before. But the insert itself, as you can see, is plastic, and that doesn't attract lime scale. So we describe it as a non-stick valve internal. So after the end of the summer, when the valve pin has been forced down all summer long by the head, and may have stuck around the seat and won't open. It's a common problem, we know. It doesn't happen with this valve. This valve will open every autumn. It won't stick. So it's a non-stick valve with flow adjustment, And of course, like we've described on my training with this balancing key, you can also use this key to swap out the upper gland seal as well if you get any leakage here. So, and one last point is because of it doesn't have a hex to prevent rotation, it has 72 teeth around this surface. You may not be able to see it because the resolution is not good enough, but those teeth allow you to put on the head in 72 different positions. So you're always going to be able to line it up exactly straight on the front and make it look good. So those we didn't include, we haven't got that on the RT212. It's quite an expensive operation to put that in. But if it's important for you to make your TRVs look straight or point in an exact direction, this is a much better way of doing it. So that's really why you'd upgrade from the RT212 to the 414 to give it a better valve. The head itself is better aesthetics and a little bit bigger, but essentially the same. But then it's the valve which makes all the difference here. Okay, so that's the 414. I think I've mentioned everything there. I haven't actually. So again, 12 to 29 temperature range. Range limiting pins in the bottom as well, like on the 212 and on the TRV4. It's got a frost position at 8. It's got a positive off position as before. Liquid sensor, of course, because all our TRVs now have liquid sensors, and chrome valves and fittings, lock shields, matching lock shields, etc. We've moved away completely from satin nickel across the whole range. Now everything is chrome. So I think that's about it for the 414, the RT414, which then brings us on to our premium offer, the TRV4, which I know you love. It's our most popular product out there. It's probably the product that Drayton, the name Drayton, is best known for. I know I've talked about it a lot before, but I'll briefly go over the history. The original TRV4, which we now call the Classic, came out in 1992, and this is the design. It's got a white bezel with a chrome top. Always had the matching chrome valve, of course. When we originally designed this back in that was the early 90s, the internal engineering project was called the Space Age TRV, which sort of is a bit confusing now. I don't really get it. It's not space age to me, but nevertheless, certainly for the time, this was revolutionary. A much more compact design than anything else that was out on the market. No slots, no air slots. So that means it's easy to clean and looks a lot nicer. But nevertheless, high performance. This is the best performing valve in our range. And you could think, how does it do that without air slots? Because air slots are important to get airflow through to the sensor at the top. But there are, in fact, air vents in here. You can see them at the bottom here. These black lines are, in fact, airways. So you get air through at the bottom of the valve. There is also air gaps around the top of this bezel to get a movement of air through. And the other very important thing is that this brass cap at the top, it's machined brass with a chrome surface, it fits very snugly over the liquid sensor. So this entire surface is in fact a sensing surface, and that's what gives it the best performance. So it's got by far the best aesthetics of all our TRVs and also the best performance. Explains why it's been copied a lot over the last 25 years. We then launched a all chrome version, and we call this the TRV4 all chrome now. So all we've done is exchange the bezel for a chromed bezel. This looks great on polished chrome towel rails, especially with matching manual valves or matching lock shields. Really fantastic look on polished chrome radiators. something like 2003 this was launched, still a long time ago. Then in, I've lost it now, the white version, we then haven't unpacked this one. So this is the TRV4 white, which we launched in 2013. We replaced the chrome cap with a white plastic cup as a different color variation. It's just the performance is just as good. And then this year we launched the anthracite. So this is TRV4 anthracite. We know that decorative radiators are a very fast growing market, especially in terms of turnover, because they're very expensive. And we felt, when we looked at the market, we felt that there weren't many nice options for quality TRVs to fit on it. So we created this anthracite version of the TRV4. It's got a matte anthracite surface, unlike the gloss surface on all the other ones, and even the Drayton logo and TRV4 name is printed in chrome. Look at that. So that's a very nice addition to our range, especially for designer radiators. I know we've talked about it already, but that's our big launch for this year. Just going back to our sample again, I mentioned about the performance, but other things which were new about it is we added the scale tape, going from black. As you go lower down the scale, it's in black, and as you come higher up the scale, it's in red, so you can see easily where you've set it, whether it's high or low. The numbers are also very, very clear, but also we added click stop settings, so you can actually feel click, click, click. You can actually feel the steps and even the half steps, and you can even count them down. So it's very easy to turn, but you can also feel those steps. I mentioned before, I'll mention again about the rating, about the performance of it, and on the box you can see we claim an A rating for this. It's actually, they've changed the scheme now. It's got a class 1 rating now, actually, but effectively the TRV4 was the very first TRV in the UK to be given the class 1 rating by TEL, the certification body who manages this. I talked about EN215 earlier. This is really a pass-fail sort of certification. TEL came along and said, well, okay, fine that they pass, but how good are they? And they rated all the ones that pass. So if you only just pass the criteria for EN215 in your test data, you'll get a G or F. These days it's called class 5 or 6, I can't remember now. And then as you get progressively better and you pass the tests more solidly, you can get up to a class 1, which is what the TRV is. It means more savings, basically, because the things they look at are speed, reaction time, how quickly it reacts to changes in temperature, and also how well the sensor here ignores the hot water in the valve. One of the problems of a TRV, of course, is it's mounted right next to a heat source, and you're sensing temperature here, but really you want to sense the temperature in the middle of the room. It's very important to have good flow rate around here, good airflow around here, so that you're sensing air temperature and not the water temperature in the valve. Poor TRVs, ones that score very badly, means as soon as this valve gets hot, the valve closes, which is no good at all. You're not sensing the room temperature properly. So this is the best product we have for performance. Like we've talked about before with the RT414, the valve has an adjustable flow rate, like we've discussed before, which you can adjust using the balancing key. It has these 72 teeth around the top there, so you can put the sensing head in any of 72 different positions, so you can always line it up perfectly. Non-stick valve internals, again, And of course, you can using this key, you can replace the upper gland seal if you want to as well. So a lot of features in that valve as well. So we're continuing to expand the TRV4 range. Still very important for us. Very excited to be launching a completely different color, and we look forward to do more of this in the future as we see other colors coming in, and might be matte. Other ones we're looking at and considering are brushed aluminium. It's like a matte silver effect. That could look quite good. I mean, the TRV4 chrome, which I can't find now. TRV4 chrome is a little bit bling, so a matte brushed aluminium effect might look good too. Any ideas? Feel free to put them in a note and suggest some things to us. Okay, so that's the TRV4 and how you'd upgrade to it. I also want to talk a little bit about lock shields and accessories. I know I've gone slightly over time here, getting carried away. We have a range of lock shields. This is our standard lock shield, always, and it locks down with a screwdriver here to prevent anyone messing with it. We always supply them with a wheel head cap so that you can, to make adjustments rather than use a spanner, but also you can screw it on and it becomes a manual valve. So our lock shields also act as manual valves because you get both caps. Recently, we also introduced a locking all chrome lock shield. You get these with the anthracite and the chrome TRVs now. So that's a recent addition, but they're all chrome products, of course, to match the full range. It includes as well things like drain off tail pieces, compression elbows, push-fit elbows, all these sort of things which you use regularly, and even reducers as well. Reducers, everything I've shown you, of course, is for 15mm copper pipe, but we have reducers if you're using 8mm or 10mm pipe. We also have a full range of valves for commercial properties, and by that I mean imperial sizes for iron or steel pipe with female threads. So we've got a full range of TRVs for that, in case you're doing any work in commercial properties and you find those sort of things. And a full range of accessories. The balancing key, hopefully you've all got one. Range pins, gland seals, decorator caps, polished chrome decorator caps, which gives you a manual valve effectively. So all those are available as spares. Also, forgot to mention extension kits. If your valve is down behind a radius, is down behind a settee or behind a curtain or behind furniture, it's not sensing the right place, we have kits which allow you to put the head up on the wall 2 meters away, connected by capillaries. The valve is still down on the floor, hidden away, and the head is on the wall where it can sense properly. So that's putting a kit of capillary between the two parts. Alternatively, we have TRV4 heads with a remote sensor, so that the TRV4 is on the floor behind your sofa, but the sensor exact comes out to go on the wall. So to make sure you have solutions there if your customers have put furniture or a settee or whatever in front of a TRV where it should be sensing and it's not actually sensing room temperature. Okay, so I think we're coming towards the end of the range of mechanical TRVs. I said earlier that I did want to speak about Wiser, and I know you've had lots of training from James already on Wiser, so I don't need to repeat any of that, and looks like we haven't got time anyway. But the Wiser TRV adds a lot of features and benefits for the end user. One of the limitations of a TRV, as I'm sure you're aware, it's not connected to the boiler. So if you're in, for example, here, if my daughter is in her bedroom late at night watching television and is cold, but we're sitting downstairs nice and warm, the thermostat is switched off the boiler. If she wants to turn up her TRV, nothing happens. She's cold. And the only way to start warming up her room is to then overheat the room downstairs. Lots of situations like that. This office, for example, I've been working in the office. When I first started working from my home office back in March. It was quite cool. The only way to heat this room was to switch on the whole house. Well, that changes with this if you use this device, because each one is a programmable thermostat in its own right. So I have one on the radiator just beside me down here. And back in March, when it was cold in this room, I just boost this room. The radiator comes on in this room, the boiler fires, all the other radiators around the house remain cold because they're closed. So I can heat this room only. And in the case of my daughter, if she was wanting to watch television late at night, we didn't, and the rest of the house was cold, she could even turn on, boost her radiator at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the rest of the house would stay cold, and she would be able to heat her room alone. The usual way to use it, of course, the typical application is you're downstairs during the day. Why do you need to heat your bedrooms? So you can put a different time on your bedrooms and really only heat the rooms that you're using. So you know about Wiser and you've had plenty of training on it, but for the end user, these are key benefits because our heating systems, as you're very well aware, are really limited in customability. You either have the whole house on or the whole house off. This product allows you to heat individual rooms and save a lot of money because of that, and provide real benefits to the end user. I know you've got an app, which is nice, and you can see the temperatures and change them easily on your app, which is great. But in terms of room-to-room control, there's some real big advantages of an electronic TRV to provide you finally with a heating system that does exactly what you want, no matter what your circumstances. So I'm really impressed with these. I had these here for a couple of years in this house, and there's so many useful applications for it. Even in the bathroom, for example, you might have a towel rail in the bathroom, and of course in summer the towel rail is cold because your boiler's not on and isn't on at all. Your heating isn't on. But if you have one of these on, you can warm the towels for an hour by boosting this. That radiator comes on, the rest of them don't come on. So lots of nice little advantages of this type of control. So I think that's everything I wanted to explain about TRVs. I hope it's been useful.